Charge and fire. Order. Fire. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to sincerely thank you for being here in the rain. There usually are 2 or 3 times our number, but I'm looking at quality, not quantity. And the veterans we're burying today were probably living in sloppy, muddy foxholes to keep us free. So I think we can put up with a little rain for their sake. And I thank you again. Good afternoon, fellow American patriots. Each of us knows full well why we're here today. So let us all turn to our beautiful national symbol and pledge complete allegiance to her perpetual waving. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I would like to introduce our guest of honor today, who is the commander of the 177th Fighter Wing, New Jersey Air National Guard, Colonel Diana Brown. Today's going to be short, I promise. In just 2 days, we will be remembering, certainly not celebrating, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attack on our country. In our humble attempt to honor these 7 servants of our military forces who have each defended our land in the best way they know how, let us also honor, in a moment of silent prayer, those 2,977 lives that were taken from us 20 years ago on that horrible day. Thank you. May our generous and merciful Lord above hold those 3,000 souls close to his holy bosom, along with these 7 souls, and those of every other person who has fought for and worked for and loved these United States of America throughout our 245 years of existence. Now, on behalf of New Jersey's Mission of Honor for Cremains of American Veterans, it is with unspeakable and sincere duty that I introduce you to these 7 abandoned veterans who will never be forgotten again. From the Grabiel Funeral Home in Milltown, New Jersey, Edward T. Hopkins. Edward Hopkins was born in Lyndhurst, New Jersey on January 14th, 1919. The war to end all wars had just ended, and the American Legion was just being formed by its veterans. It was also the year, incidentally, that the Green Bay Packers were formed. Ed Hopkins was 22 years old when he volunteered for the United States Army in January 1941. Yeah, that was 11 months before Pearl Harbor. He was in the 9th Infantry Division and invaded Morocco and North Africa on November 1942. He was wounded March 1943 in Tunisia, and after being hospitalized for his injuries, was assigned to the 7th Army and was in Marseille when the war in Europe ended in 1945. Ed earned the Eastern Theater Ribbon with a cluster of 5 bronze stars and a Combat Infantryman's badge, and of course the Purple Heart. Ed Hopkins was a private first class. After the war, Ed earned an MBA in education at Rutgers University and spent 19 years teaching elementary school in Metuchen. He was a scoutmaster and a little league coach. Yes, he was married, but we have no record of his wife's whereabouts or demise. Ed passed on June 14, 1999, at age 80. The remains of this decorated United States Army veteran have been left abandoned for the last 21 years. Also from Graybiel Funeral Home in Milltown, Henry J. Korzeniewski. Henry Korzeniewski was born in Jersey City on February 19, 1916. Hank Korzeniewski, love saying his name, was 24 years old already when he joined the United States Army National Guard in 1940. When the United States joined World War II, Hank served the entire war through until 1945 in the 159th Infantry. He obtained the rate of private first class. When Hank came home from the war, he settled in East Orange, New Jersey, and after attending Rutgers University, became a post office clerk. Hank was married, but that unfortunately ended in divorce. Hank died on January 28, 1977, at the young age of 60. The remains of this United States Army veteran have been left abandoned for the last 43 years until we found them. Now from the Graybiel Park West Chapel in New Brunswick, we have Stephen L. Horvath. Stephen Horvath was born in the country of Hungary on November 5th, 1916. From June 1916, the Russians focused their attacks on the Austro-Hungary army in the Brizilov offensive, recognizing the numerical inferiority of the Austro-Hungarian army. Apparently, Stephen's family fled that threat and immigrated to the United States. Stephen was 26 years old when he was summoned into the United States Army to fight in 1942 and 1943 in World War II as a private. When Stephen returned from his duty, he settled in New Brunswick and worked as a laborer for the E.R. Squibb and Sons Company in North Brunswick, right around the corner. Stephen was married to a gal named Margaret, but became a widower. Stephen himself lived to the age of 85 and passed away on March 13, 2002. The remains of this U.S. Army veteran have been unclaimed for the past 19 years. Now also from Graybiel, we have Margaret P. Horvath, who is obviously the wife of Stephen, whom we just met. Margaret was born in Philadelphia on November 17, 1918. She was 2 years younger than Steve. Margaret was a hat check girl at the Elks Club of New Brunswick for 4 years. She was only 62 when she passed away in 1980. The remains of this lady have been left unclaimed for 41 years. She is the urn without a flag, if she is not herself a veteran. Now from the Graybiel Park West Chapel, New Brunswick, we have Philip W. Len. Philip Len was born in Edgemere, New York State on August 24th, 1918. Philip was 24 years old in 1942 when Uncle Sam requested his presence in the United States Army. In the 4 years he served, from 42 through 46, Phil earned the rate of Master Sergeant, so we could assume he got some field promotions for his leadership and his bravery. But he was already a college graduate, having earned a bachelor degree from Columbia College in New York City in 1937, before being drafted. Master Sergeant Len made his home in Somerset, New Jersey after the war, and became self-employed, making a reputation as a leather crafter or manufacturer. Philip was married, but his wife had died earlier. Philip died on March 29, 1993, at the age of 74. The remains of this U.S. Army veteran have been left unclaimed for 28 years. William Stern. William Stern was born in Brooklyn, New York on February 6, 1934. He was the product of the Great Depression. Bill Stern enlisted in the Army just 4 years after the Korean War armistice was signed. He's listed as serving during peacetime, but we know the Cold War was actually in full swing. During his 2-year hitch, Bill became a Spec 4, which is pay grade E4. Bill came home but stayed on the Jersey side of the Hudson by settling in Metuchen, where he became an accountant in mortgage banking. He was married, but we can find no record of his wife. Bill Stern died on February 28, 2016, at the age of 82. The remains of this U.S. Army veteran have been unclaimed for 5 years. Paul G. Strongen. Paul Strongen was born across the river in New York City on December 5th, 1930. Wall Street had just disintegrated the year before. Paul was a strapping 18-year-old when he joined the peacetime United States Air Force in 1948. That didn't last very long because he was sent to the Korean conflict as an Army basic and served until 1952. Paul also came home and stayed on the Jersey side of the Hudson by settling in Edison, where he became a union executive for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. Very little else is known about Paul Strongen, except that he had been married but outlived his wife. He passed away on July 8, 1999, as a widower at age 68. The remains of this U.S. Air Force veteran have been left unclaimed for the last 22 years. Now from the Gowan Funeral Home of New Brunswick. Frederick Sawadi, Jr. Frederick Sawadi, Jr. was born in Brooklyn, New York on January 5th, 1930. Also a Depression baby. Fred Sawadi was the legal age of 21 when he enlisted into the United States Air Force in 1951. He too was sent to Korea to fight his 2-year hitch. Fred became an airman second class. Airman Sawadi Jr. made his home after the war in Griggstown, New Jersey. Griggstown is an unincorporated community of 819 residents located within Franklin Township in Somerset County. He became a draftsman with the All States Engineering Company of Trenton. Records indicate that Fred was married at least at one time, but doesn't follow through with any other information on a wife. On November 12, 1979, Fred Sawadi Jr. passed away at the very young age of only 49 years. Brothers and sisters, that concludes the introduction of our veterans for today. I would ask you to please bow your heads and pray with me the New Jersey Military Cremains prayer. Loving and merciful Father in heaven, we ask that you accept the souls of these departed veterans into your welcoming hands for eternal safekeeping. It is thought that these men had no relatives to claim them, but we know these children of God are your creation, Lord, made in your image. These departed American veterans are our brothers who have served their country gallantly in the armed forces of this great nation. Merciful Savior, forgive our brothers of their sins that may have been committed in weakness. Wipe away the tears and troubles of the past. Provide them with a new heavenly home of peace and joy. It is our duty, Father, to honor these departed with proper burial for having made the sacrifices necessary to the cause of freedom for their fellow man. It is into your hands we commend their spirits as their bodies of dust we return to the earth. Amen.
Amen.
I have the privilege to introduce you to Frank Carrasco, who is one of the 2 founders of New Jersey Mission of Honor for Cremains of American Veterans. Fran is a decorated United States Army Vietnam combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient, and Mr. Frank Carrasco. Thank you, Charlie. Honor God. Host.
I don't know. They're not moving.
Rifle squad, fire 3 volleys.
Come to ready. Fire. 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 Order.
Order, arm. Be seated, everyone. This concludes our ceremony today. We'll be going on our 13th year, and only one other time that I can remember we were out in the rain like this. And I want to thank Bart and his staff for the tents and the nice area that he's put together for us. Because the last time we were in the rain, there must have been about 100 people trying to squeeze into a 20 by 20 foot area while we were all drenched and soaking wet. And I'm sure Judy will remember that. So this is a real good improvement from the last time we were in the rain. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. The dedication and respect for our veterans that we are laying to rest today is unbelievable. And I'd like to give all of you a round of applause for coming out and showing respect. With that being said, this will conclude our ceremony, and I'd like to invite everyone to come to the Plumstead, like to buy you a drink or a hamburger. I appreciate your dedication. Thank you very much.